Well, the first thing I can remember about coming up to Temora, I hadn't been out in the country very much as a young person, was the coming in a train. We were passing along a wheat field, which seemed to go on for miles, and that really intrigued me to think they had these great big fields out here so full of crops. But anyhow, we arrived here, and they allocated various huts to us. You know, they divided us up into groups, and I don't think it was very long, perhaps the next day or two, before we started to do training courses in the classroom and go flying. And initially we'd fly very early in the morning when the weather was calm, for about a month, and after that you became one of the advanced courses, and you'd fly probably during the afternoon when it was a bit bumpier. Well, one of the memories is that a lot of people were scrubbed, and I think about 120 or thereabouts started off, and at least 30 to 40% of them were scrubbed. And so a lot of people were quite nervous. You'd go to bed of a night time, you'd hear people talking about not holding off bank in a gliding turn in their sleep. And you know, you're all trying to do the very best you could. And we had one fellow on the course who was 27. Most of us were about 19, 20. His name was Pop. I can remember when I got to 27 thinking, you know, I'm bloody old now. he found it a bit hard to learn, and we used to help him with his classes, you know. But the flying was the most interesting part of it. I mean, there were lots of different classes, there were lots of different subjects that you had to learn, but well, you'd start off with the flying, just doing a few turns, and you wouldn't have a landing at first. You just a few turns and fiddling about in the air. We were flying the Tiger Moth, of course. This was a Tiger Moth school, number 10 EFTS, and yeah, you just do a few turns and try and learn how to hold the aeroplane level in the air, which was a bit difficult because it was hard to get it so that it would just stay steady and not climb a little bit or glide a little bit. And anyway, well, you start off doing turns and then steep turns and so on. And after, I think we all took around about 8 to 10 hours before they sent us solo. We'd go up and do one circuit, I think, and after that, you know, you'd do a lot of flying by yourself. Well, when we learned to fly the Tiger Moths, this was at here at Elementary Flying School. I went to Point Cook to a service flying training school and learned to fly airspeed Oxfords. And at the end of that time, we had about 3 months there, we got our wings. And after that, of course, you were posted to various places and eventually went to OTUs, operational training units, and you flew whatever you happened to go onto, you know. I flew Catalinas for a long time. Well, the Catalinas were, they did 2 jobs when I went to them. One was mine laying, and they dropped mines, well, for instance, in Hong Kong Harbour and at places on the China coast, and we also dropped them in Bangka Straits, which is between Bangka Island and Sumatra, not far from Singapore. And then we used to have harassing raids. We'd carry 8, I think they were 250-pound bombs, and we'd go over someplace in Indonesia, the Celebes or somewhere like that, and we'd drop these bombs. We'd stick around there for a few hours, and we'd drop a bomb every now and then to keep the people out of bed and make them stay in there in the trenches and get bitten by mosquitoes and get malaria. That was perhaps how most of them were killed. Well, and we do shipping reconnaissance and so on around all the Indonesian islands mostly, and even the Wirraway. I can remember a Wirraway like that was brought here while we were training, and they put it in a tent So the tent came right down over the wingtips, and we each got up in turn, and I looked out and it seemed so big inside the tent. I thought, my God, I'll never fly an aeroplane this big. Of course, later on I flew a 747, that was a fair size too. Later on, when I was flying with Qantas in New Guinea, I rescued a bloke who'd wrecked his boat. He wanted to be the first man around the world single-handed. This is in 1957, and he ran into the Portlock Reefs in the Gulf of Papua, and eventually he was up the mast. The rest of the boat was under the water, and he just had a couple of feet of the mast sticking out, and a Lincoln dropped a dinghy to him, and they dropped it upwind, unfortunately. Should have dropped it downwind and drift onto him, and he had to decide whether to swim for it or not, because it drifts away fairly quickly, and he'd already seen a shark in the water. So he made up his mind and swam for it and got into it, and later on that afternoon I went out and landed in the sea and picked him up.